Should you recycle your video content for social media, for YouTube, for podcasting, or any other types of medium? We're going to answer that question for you today. And I have a couple of tricks up my sleeve that I can kind of give you that might help you along your way with your video content efforts. So obviously the word recycle basically means taking something that already exists and putting it into something else to exist. So if we're taking social media specifically, maybe it's a video that we posted a month ago and we're asking, should we take that video and post it all over again? Same video, we're not re-editing it, we're not re-chopping that clip, we're not doing anything else to it. We're literally taking that exact clip and then reposting it later. That's kind of the question that I would assume that most people will have about recycling content. The answer to that is yes and no. So here's the thing. When it comes to social media content, a lot of things can be determined based off of just looking at basic analytics. So obviously, the idea would be efficiency. We can take a piece of content, we don't have to reproduce a video, and we can put it out. That's cool. And theoretically, yes, it is a good idea. So I'm gonna kind of give you the pros and cons of why you should do it and maybe why you shouldn't. So I'll start with why you should do it. The first thing that I would think about is if a video did well previously, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do well if you post it again, but give it a shot. Just try it. You never know what's going to happen. The landscape of social media and the way that the algorithm works is extremely unpredictable, and it's very hard to determine if something is going to work. You could pour 8 hours into editing a 60-second video and it absolutely flops. You could record a 60-second video on your phone in the dark saying absolute gibberish and it goes viral. You just never know what's going to work. So taking that video that worked before and reposting it, I don't believe it's going to hurt anything, but I would keep an eye on the actual engagement and the view counts and that sort of thing to determine, is this actually going in the direction I want to? Is it doing better or worse or not doing anything at all? And if it's really not doing anything at all, the worst that you could do is just take it down. Just delete the post and then you don't use it again. But a way I like to kind of look at it also is if you're taking that content, maybe you're running out of content. Maybe you're like, I just don't have time to film. I run into this all the time. We're a social media agency. We actually manage social media for clients. And there's a handful of clients that I could point out that it's very hard to actually get them to record fresh video. And I do all of my concerted effort to try to get fresh video from them, but they're just very busy people that are running multi-million-dollar businesses. So it can be hard for them to focus on actually recording video. So let's just say, for example, they are not getting me video. Can I take some videos that we've produced in the past and recycle those? Typically, the way we do this is it's not just taking a video and just taking it for what it is and then reposting it. I'll have my team, because generally speaking, when we're working with clients, we're chopping little 30-second segments out of longer form content. So what I'll have my team do is go back into that content, reproduce it, and maybe we overlap a couple of statements contextually to make sure that it seems like it's a fresh video and not the exact same clip. And then reproduce it maybe with new types of captions, new B-roll, so it's a fresh video, and then put it out that way. Generally speaking, that's the way we recycle videos. We don't ever just take a video for what it was and then repost that like all over again a month later. Now, time frame wise, it really depends. It depends on the frequency that you're putting out. If you're putting out 2 or 3 videos a day on social media every single day, you could literally recycle content every month if you wanted to. I wouldn't do all of your content, pick some of the best stuff and recycle it, but it does help with efficiency. It does help with not having to record a batch of content all the time so that you can just keep up with the 2 or 3 postings a day, which I've done a video on like frequency and, your capacity and that sort of thing. So make sure you go check that out also. But it's understanding how you're recycling the content. Really, it plays it plays a role in the amount that you're posting. So if you're posting 3 times a week, then recycling content may not even be an option for you, or you need to do it once a quarter and that's it. Because the problem is that I come to your account and I see that same video every 10 videos, then it's going to be hard for me to determine if you're actually relevant and credible because you're just recycling video content and that can come across as lazy. So conceptually, the other thought would be outside of just taking piece of content and then reposting it somewhere is, can I actually take something that exists and recreate it into something else that is totally different? And where I'm going with this is, for example, a couple of years ago, I actually came out with a book. It's called the REI Marketing Book. And I have a podcast called the REI Marketing Weekly. What I did was, and this isn't anything a brand new idea, it's something that's been done before, but I wanted to try it out for myself and it worked beautifully. What I did was I took my first 50 podcast episodes, transcribed them, had a writer go in and clean up the transcriptions, then I had another writer go in and organize the content into topics, and then I went in and then recrafted some of like the build out of it and that sort of thing, and then we put it into a book format. So I literally have like a 250-page book that's out there that I literally only wrote the introduction and I wrote the dedication and then a couple of small blurbs that I put into a couple of the chapters, and that was it. I literally spent maybe 3 hours of total writing, less than that, in that 250-page book. The rest of it was just transcribed podcast episodes that we condense down into some topic and information. If that's the type of recycling we're talking about, hell yes, do it. Because that is so efficient. It's such a great way to create new types of content. Again, another example is if you have a podcast and it's videoed, why not take that hour-long podcast and chop out 5 to 7 segments of that podcast, reproduce them for YouTube, and then you have a whole new fresh video on YouTube that's about one topic. Now, there's a little bit of an art form to doing that, but it works beautifully and it does a really, really good job of making sure you're efficient. So you could literally do a podcast episode a week that's an hour long and have that episode go out. Then you could have 2 or 3 clips that are 5 to 10 minutes long out of that are your YouTube videos for the week. Then obviously you can go in and chop out 10 to 15 micro clips from that short form pieces of content from that, and then redistribute those on a daily basis. That is kind of prime recycling. That's ideally what I would look at as that's a high efficiency content marketing system. It works well, it's efficient, and it gets the job done. So giving you the straight answer, I would say that recycling content for the most part is a good idea. You just really need to know how it applies to you. Again, if you are posting 3 times a day, 2 times a day, the recycling once a month might be okay. Just don't recycle all your videos. Do maybe a small batch of them, maybe 3 to 5 videos on a monthly basis, just to keep efficiency high. But if you're doing 3 videos a week, it's gonna be really hard for you to have the opportunity to actually be able to take a video and then make sure it's still relevant and seems fresh to go out later on down the road. But again, have the consideration that just because it did well before doesn't mean it's gonna do well later. Vice versa, just because it sucked before doesn't mean it's gonna suck later. So you can always try that too, if you think it's a good, relevant piece of content. So hopefully that helped somebody today. Hopefully that gave you kind of like insight on how we recycle content, but how you should be doing it as well in your content marketing and social media strategies. So that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining in and watching today. If you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the show. And also leave a comment below if you have any further questions or comments that you would like to deliver to me. And I'd be happy to go down there and reply to those for you. And also you can reach out to me on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, send me a DM and just say, hey, I watched your video, brought a lot of value. I had a couple questions. Would you mind answering these? I'd be happy to do that. Thank you so much for joining and watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.